Hello, thank you for joining us here at the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. You'll notice kind of our graphics look a little bit different today, and that's because we're joined by the Department of Health and Environmental Control. We have Grace Ann Martin, who's the Recycle SC coordinator with DHEC. She's joining us today to talk about a joint program that we've had that we're kind of partnering up with DHEC. We've joined up with them for B Battery Smart. So we're going to talk about that today and a little bit about just kind of proper storage, safety things you can do with your batteries, and kind of some of the efforts to help recycle those and keep them out of our landfills, and some of the kind of dangers that go along with, potentially some of these products. But I want to kind of turn things over to Grace Ann Martin with DHEC, and she'll kind of lead us through the presentation here about B Battery Smart.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, everyone, welcome to a conversation about some battery safety. As Scott was saying, my name is Grace Ann Martin, and I work for South Carolina DHEC as their Recycle Right SC coordinator. So I serve as a liaison between all of the counties and cities with DHEC and provide them with any support they need for getting recycling implemented throughout the state. We recently released our Take Charge Be Battery Smart campaign. So as Scott was saying, the Consumer Affairs as well as Palmetto Poison Control have been partnering with us to try to get the word out about this campaign. This campaign was developed all last year, and it focuses on battery safety since it's both a human health and an environmental health risk. So that's going to be kind of the focus of our presentation today, is how to keep you all safe, how to keep the environment safe, and what are some best management practices. So batteries are an everyday essential thing. So if you think about it, the first things that may come to mind is, well, you have batteries in your phones, your computers, your cameras. People who have hearing aids, they have small little button batteries in there. Then if you think about what your kids may have exposure to, they would have them in watches, their toys. They're found everywhere, even in your toothbrushes. So because they kind of are ubiquitous throughout our household, our workspace, as well as different places where you may visit, we just want to raise awareness about ways in which to keep you safe. It's often overlooked that batteries can be a hidden household hazard. So unfortunately, batteries have been known to cause garbage truck fires, as well as material recovery facility fires, or MRFs, if you're familiar with that term. So that's where your recycling is going to be sorted once it's collected from your house and before it gets to a new processor. So because of this, people can unfortunately put batteries in places where they shouldn't, which can later lead to those fire hazards. Another issue that I read an article about, kind of when electrical vehicles were getting on the road, is that firefighters were actually having to learn how to fight fires in a different way, because it was no longer a chemical fire like gasoline, but it was an electrical fire. So, it's interesting to see how we've had to evolve our management practices for those. So with that said, as I've been emphasizing, if batteries are improperly installed, charged, stored, used, damaged, or disposed, some of those batteries can catch on fire or explode, which could put your family or others in a workplace, for example, at risk. If batteries are swallowed, they can end up causing injuries, and in some cases, they can actually end up leading to death. So these little button batteries can sometimes be an issue, especially with elderly people or with children, as they look like pills for an elderly person, or they could end up looking like a piece of candy. And with these button and coin batteries, which we'll see later and kind of talk about some issues with those, it's a concern because once it gets into your esophagus, that has a liquid base environment, which can actually cause an electric current to happen, which will severely burn your esophagus. So we definitely don't want to see that that injury happening, or something even more severe like death. Also, often overlooked are the recycling opportunities for batteries, particularly rechargeable batteries that include the most popular rechargeable battery, lithium-ion. So if you have an electric toothbrush, for example, you would probably see on the bottom of it that it says Li, which is the chemical signal, or excuse me, the acronym for lithium. So there are multiple ways in which lithium-ion batteries can end up showing up in your household, and it's something that can be recharged, or excuse me, both recharged as well as reused in terms of a recycling scene. So in order to address some of the issues, both with the battery safety as well as with trying to look at different recycling opportunities, DHEC, in partnership with the Institute of Scrap Metal Recycling Industries, or ISRI, developed the Take Charge, Be Battery Smart outreach campaign. And again, this is a campaign that focuses on the safety concerns related to batteries, as well as just the different recycling opportunities that are starting to become more and more available. So in the state of South Carolina, we have 3 manufacturers that are making electric vehicles, Volvo, or both electric vehicles and electric battery, or excuse me, electric vehicles and rechargeable car batteries. That include Volvo, BMW, and Scout, which is kind of a version of Volkswagen. And we have multiple battery recyclers that are starting to come to the state. So with the Take Charge, Be Battery Smart, this program was released last November, so November 2023, with the goal of increasing awareness, providing guidance, as well as giving some resources for the general public to use. So as I mentioned, certain batteries require extra caution. So things like our lithium-ion batteries, which is a rechargeable form, are easy to puncture and can cause different fires. No battery should go into a residential recycling bin. So you can throw away alkaline-based batteries, so that can go into your trash, but both alkaline-based as well as rechargeable batteries should not end up in your residential recycling. Industry does have different rules than what residents would have to face, but we just want to try to prevent any puncturing as well as any fires that could happen. Unfortunately, right now, there's no national database for battery fires, but that is something that kind of further down the road is going to be developed. As I mentioned earlier, button or coin batteries, which are commonly found in things like toys or hearing aids, pose a deadly threat to children. So as I mentioned, it can create kind of an electric current in your esophagus, or it can end up being dissolved in your stomach, and this can end up leading to severe injury or death. And it's not just something that you have to be concerned about swallowing, but kids can also place it in their nose and their ears, which would definitely not be fun to have to try to retrieve. All batteries, both single-use and rechargeable ones, can be dangerous to your health and home if you don't follow the instructors or the manufacturer's instructions. So again, those things that you use on an everyday basis, whether it be your phone, your laptop, your electric toothbrush, or things like a lawnmower or a kind of electric tools, those are all things that you need to kind of think about in terms of how they are being properly stored and managed. So here are just a couple of basic tips that you need to know. So the first is kind of revolving around installation. So first, try to purchase batteries and devices that have been certified by UL or Underwriters Laboratory. They're a group that's known for having certain standards in electrical products. So trying to look for devices that have been that have that certification is a good first step. There may be some other independent safety testing agencies that you would want to try to look at as well. Make sure that things are installed properly. So, if you have a battery that's been placed in a device and it hasn't been put in the proper fit, it can actually lead to things overheating, which then lead to fires. Don't let children install batteries. Again, it can become something that they could see as candy and put in their mouths. Or, as we saw on the past slide, put in their noses or their ears. Do not mix old batteries with new or rechargeable batteries, or excuse me, with new ones, or rechargeable batteries with non-rechargeable ones. So again, kind of keep like batteries with like batteries, both in the age as well as if they're rechargeable or non-rechargeable. Okay, so tips for the use. So stop using a device if the battery shows signs of damage. So this could include unusual odor, change in the color, if it's leaking, hissing, cracking, or if it's having popping sounds. So those are all good signs that, okay, maybe I should take this battery out and not use it. Always try to be around when you are charging those batteries. I know sometimes, and I have to admit, I do this myself, but sometimes I will leave the house with my electric toothbrush charging. But we don't want to see too many times where that happens, because again, that overheating could end up occurring, leading to a fire. Don't let children take battery-powered devices to bed. Again, those batteries can end up overheating, which can lead to burns and other injuries. It couldn't just be, or it could be not just overheating that's an issue, but also if that battery starts leaking. And then check children's devices to make sure that batteries are being installed correctly. So for children, another good kind of piece of extra step that you can take is you can tape the kids' toys where that battery is located, and that way you can kind of see if that battery has been tampered with, or if that battery is missing. And also, if you take your kids to have alternative childcare than just what you can provide at home, let the childcare worker know that that toy has a battery, just so they can kind of be more observant of how that child's interacting with that toy. Let's see. Okay, in terms of charging, so always use the charger with the charger that with which the device came. So trying not to find too many alternative ones to use, or making sure that if you do buy one that is either a replacement, that it's one that's recommended by the manufacturer. Always plug devices directly into a wall electrical outlet. Again, you don't want to have things overheating. Place the device or battery charger on a non-flammable surface during charging. So in terms of things that would be flammable, don't put them on your pillows, your blankets, sheets, clothing, sofas, or near curtains. So again, trying to keep it away from more flammable material if it started to leak or started to overheat. Some more things about charging your material is charge your device to room temperature where you can see it, but not near the primary exit of a room. So if a device is left unattended, a device with a defective battery could overheat and catch fire. And so you don't want to potentially block the area where you could exit a room if it starts to cause a fire, or if it starts to smoke. So always, if you don't already have this on hand at your house, try to have a smoke alarm kind of present in the area where you are going to end up charging your batteries. Do not continue to charge the battery once it is fully charged. And I know that that's something that I think manufacturers are doing a better job of trying to get it to where your phone or your laptop can handle that a little bit better if you do leave it charged in. But just a good rule of thumb is to kind of keep track of how charged your devices and then remove it once it hits that, that fully charged mark. And if a battery fire does occur, just go outside, call 911, and stay outside. Don't try to manage the fire itself, because again, chemical fires such as like gas or grease, that's different than an electrical fire, and there are different practices that you may have to put into place to fight those fires. So let firemen or women who are trained to handle it, and not yourself. Your safety is of the utmost importance. If you want any more information, you can look into the Fire Safe SC, a community risk reduction program, which would have additional information about how to handle electrical or battery-based fires. So in terms of storage, it's best to keep batteries stored in a dry location at room temperature and away from heat, anything flammable, and direct sunlight. So just think about, you know, I mentioned earlier that there are different tools, whether it be a lawnmower or a leaf blower, different power tools that have rechargeable batteries associated with them. A lot of times people like to leave those out in a hot garage. That, you know, being in the South during the summertime, we know there's a lot of humidity around. So it's best to try to bring those batteries inside your house and not leave them out in a garage where they would be more susceptible to the elements and as well as different weather. So just a good rule of thumb to prevent any overheating or any corrosion from happening to that battery. Keep batteries out of sight and reach of children, as we kind of emphasized earlier. Remove and safely store batteries from devices that you will not use for a long time. So, for example, your seasonal decorations, as well as old toys that you may have laying around. Store expired batteries in a non-metal container until they can be recycled. And also tape the terminals of expired batteries, or place each battery in a plastic bag until it can be recycled. So the reason for that is that the different terminals of the batteries can end up rubbing together, and in the process, it can actually cause a spark, which can lead to a fire. So it's best to, if you do have rechargeable batteries that are needing to be disposed, tape those terminals so that they cannot lead to a future fire. And then in terms of the end-of-life management, first off, remove rechargeable batteries before recycling or dispose of a device. As I mentioned earlier, batteries should not be going, both alkaline as well as rechargeable batteries should not be going in a recycling bin. But if you have a product that can be recycled that originally held that battery, make sure that you take out that battery. Do not place batteries, as I said, don't place them in your household trash. That applies to our rechargeable batteries. Again, alkaline ones can be put in your household trash, and don't put either of those types in a recycling container. And then make sure that if you are trying to dispose of those batteries, that you're disposing of them properly and then the correct place. And so we have a resource on our website called where you can go to scdhec.gov/recycleheresc to learn how and where you can recycle based off of where you are located around the state. So each county is kind of broken down, as well as each city within that county. And it has the location as to where you can recycle and what locations collect batteries. Some locations are actually, they will end up kind of having continuous battery collection, and then others will have more kind of like shredding events. They will have more specialized events where you can come and dispose of your e-waste and your batteries. So as I was saying, recycle batteries properly. South Carolina residents have several options with more recycling infrastructure on the way. So if your county or your city does not offer battery recycling, you can actually go to places like Lowe's, Home Depot, Best Buy. There's also a company called Batteries Plus, as well as Call to Recycle, that will end up collecting your household batteries. You probably would want to call ahead just to make sure that they are collecting at the time that you're needing to drop them off. But again, that includes Best Buy, Lowe's, Home Depot, Batteries Plus, and then Call to Recycle. We also, as a state, we are, as I mentioned, kind of becoming more of a hub for electric vehicles and kind of the building of those vehicles. And so that means that we're going to maybe have more batteries that we're going to have to be handling on a wide scale or on a greater scale. And so in the state, we actually have two battery recyclers that are going to be, or kind of large scale industrial battery recyclers that are going to be coming to our state. So Redwood Recycling as well as Serva are two of those companies. And so they will be working not just with industry, but also with residents to get batteries or rechargeable batteries, specifically those lithium-ion based ones, as well as cobalt-based ones, recycled. And so we want to make sure that that we kind of have those resources, whether it be lithium or cobalt, available so that we can keep having electrical vehicles as well as other rechargeable battery products out there for consumers. And I think there are two other battery recyclers that are going to be coming to the state as well, but I'm not as familiar with who those companies will end up being. So as I mentioned earlier, we have tried to kind of increase the amount of resources that are available, as well as increase awareness, increase guidance, as well as resources for the general public. And so here are some examples of kind of, best management practices on how you should dispose of your batteries. We also have kind of a residential guide as well as a guide for schools on how they should be handling batteries. So one of my coworkers was actually able to develop a K through 12 curriculum for having lessons on battery safety and kind of what you should do in terms of battery storage. So definitely trying to not just educate the parents, but educate our students as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning, DHEC is partnering with the Department of Consumer Affairs as well as Palmetto Poison Control to help spread the word. So we are appreciative of opportunities like this where we can go out and start letting residents in South Carolina know how they can keep themselves and their families as well as their household and the environment safe. And so if you would like to learn more about our Be Battery Smart campaign, you can visit our bebatterysmart.com. It will actually, I think, direct you to our scdhec.gov website, but it has a lot more resources that you can find, and you got to see kind of a quick sample of what those resources look like, but there are some more available online that you can use.